Hey, Phil from the future here. Today's deck tech is going to be long. It's long enough that I'm going to split the deck tech into two parts. If that's sort of a turnoff for you, feel free to just kind of skip to this second part or just take a look at the list on the Mox field and skip directly to the gameplay. The gameplay is insane today. It's so good. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today we are going to be looking at Rhett's 12 Mulch Treasure Hunt Yorion Lands deck. And this is the original version that was submitted, so I'm going to talk about this for a minute, and it's going to need some updates for some reasons that'll become clear in just a second. The general concept is pretty darn cool. We are going to use Winding Way and Mulch, which are pretty much the same card, as well as the relatively similar Treasure Hunt, and the less similar but filling the same general role, Life from the Loam, to repeatedly get a bunch of lands. And then we are going to dump those lands into play with either Manabond or Exploration, and then eventually win somehow. Rhett's initial idea was to be a Dark Depths deck in Game 1, and then a Field of the Dead deck in Game 2. And these require very different pieces of interaction, right? Beating a Merit Lage requires one, probably exile-based removal spell, or maybe a Caracas. Whereas Field of the Dead requires go wide sweepers, your engineered explosives, your damnations, toxic deluges, that sort of stuff. And this deck was built to be a Yorion deck list specifically because supposedly they were going through their libraries so quickly that they were nearly running out of cards in average games. And then the next idea was that Mystic Sanctuary would allow you to put the Winding Ways, Mulches, and such back on top of your deck so that you never run out of gas. And the various copies of Living Wish that are here could get you access to something like a Field of the Dead as a silver bullet, or one of these crazy green end-of-game haymakers like Lumra, or maybe Cultivator Colossus. Lumra has done some batshit insane things on this channel and is worthy of praise and all of our loves. Cultivator Colossus I've seen in play once or twice in Modern, and I don't think I beat that card ever. Now, why do I say that this deck needs some work? It's because mathematically, I don't think this deck can execute one of its major game plans consistently, and I'm going to drag some cards around to show you what I mean. So problem number one is the mana color production problem. The 22 lands over here are neither blue nor green. So these do not cast the colored pips in the various spells in this deck list. That is a starting problem. It is, however, exacerbated by Mystic Sanctuary, which enters tapped unless you control 3 or more islands. And when it enters untapped, you can put target instant or sorcery from your graveyard on top of your library. So these 22 lands don't cast the blue stuff. Now let's do some Mystic Sanctuary math on top of that. So in addition to the 22 colorless lands, or lands that don't produce blue and green, a large number of the other lands in this deck list are not actually islands at all. That means that only these 16 lands and the other copies of Mystic Sanctuary technically are actually contributing to your Mystic Sanctuary count. So if we actually start thinking, how likely is it that Mystic Sanctuary is actually an on-curve mana source? How likely is it that Mystic Sanctuary actually enters untapped because we have 3 or more other islands? Mathematically, we start to run into some problems. And when you start thinking that some of these lands are not actually going to produce any mana at all, I think we're going to trip over ourselves a decent portion of the time. The Dark Depths as well. Now, before anyone actually is me here and says, Echoing Deeps might be a color, I'm not going to count the set as colored mana until it proves that it is colored mana. Yes, sometimes, you will have put a land in your graveyard or you will be wastelanded, but as far as curving out into something like an Uro, this is not going to help with that in a huge number of cases. So, we're going to need a pretty substantial rebuild here. And Rhett played with some stuff that looked a lot like this on Arena quite a bit and is now trying to adapt this idea to Legacy. So I'm going to try to take some of the ideas that are here and retool this into something that looks a little bit more competitive. So I'm going to take a quick break to do that. It's not going to be a quick break. It's probably going to be half an hour to an hour. All right, I've given it some thought and I've made my changes, and I'll talk about those in a second. I think the primary thing that I want to talk about before I launch into my changes is trying to do too many things. So this deck is trying to be a Dark Depths, Thespians Stage, Yorion, Transformational, Field of the Dead, Living Wish deck. That's a lot. So I think we need to simplify the core a little bit and remove some of this. And so I've updated the deck, staying faithful to most of the things here, but trying to eliminate some of the things that are just likely to be too clunky to work in actual games of Legacy. And this is what I ended up with. A fundamental change that I've made to the deck is moving the Field of the Deads into the Game 1 deck list. Based on my experience with other Manabond decks, one of the easiest ways for this deck to win is just turn 1 Manabond, turn 2 cast a Mulch, and then end of turn dump in Field of the Dead with a whole bunch of other lands and just make a quick zombie army, and that is a way to steal games as if you have a combo finish. And while we could go heavier into the Dark Depths aspect, I think if we want to go into Dark Depths, the deck needs to have 4 crop rotations, probably 4 Elvish Reclaimers at a minimum, maybe Knight of the Reliquaries as well. You need enough tutors, I think, to make that consistent. Because sometimes your mulches and your winding ways and your treasure hunts are just going to get countered, and I think you have to be prepared for that. You're not going to assemble your A plus B in your 80 card Yorion deck very consistently unless you're really building towards assembling that, which I don't think this deck was doing. So I think in game 1 we become a Field of the Dead deck, and I'm changing how the transformational sideboard works for the post sideboard games. That'll make sense in a second. To compensate for Field of the Dead coming in, I have added an extra Yavimaya into the mana base here, and I've added a few more fetch lands. I think the original version had like 6. I've bumped that up by 3. Honestly, 9 fetch lands might not even be enough either. You really want to have a decent number of fetch lands to make Life from the Loam good, but I'm going to assume that if we cast a Life from the Loam, dredge it, and then start getting lands in slower matchups, that's going to be just fine. Now, I have added Urza's Saga into the main deck in the place of the other colorless lands that were in there previously. Urza's Saga has a little bit of tension with Field of the Dead in that it's a disappearing land, but it has excellent synergy with the rest of the deck, and this is a standalone way to win games, and that's something you want in current Legacy decks. So we can go land, exploration, Urza's Saga, and then we can dump mana into Urza's Saga while hopefully also just doing this 2 mana stuff that we would like to be doing anyway. Now, you'll notice that I added white to the mana base. Why did I do that? I think the idea of a transformational sideboard is fine, but I think the way that you want to transform is the way that beats various blue-black X decks that are running around. We should naturally be a bit of a predator to those decks. We don't care about discard if they are doing discard. In the Grief, Reanimate, Grief Days lands, decks were very, very favored against those sorts of strategies. And we can just stop a giant Psychic Frog from connecting, and we can bring back this land if it gets destroyed. So I want to hedge further against those decks by bringing in 7 removal spells, and I think that's a wonderful place to be. I did, however, forget about one thing that I wanted to add in. We need to fit a Collector Roof into this sideboard so that I can Living Wish for it to have a really good out to combo matchups. Something's got to go from this sideboard. And I know what it's supposed to be, but goodbye Pithing Needle. So this ultimately leaves us with an Urza Saga package that hedges specifically against blue decks to shut off counterspells, to have life gain versus Delver style decks, and to have pressure versus blue control decks. We have Living Wish to get us silver bullets of various kinds for certain matchups. And we have a bunch of removal we can board in to prolong games. Maybe trimming some of the Urza Saga package, some of the lands that aren't good, the treasure hunts, which are probably the weakest of the 2-drop slots. And we still can occasionally just Mize a game with Uro. So this was a pretty substantial overhaul. There's probably going to be things that I am missing that I don't have answers to, but we'll figure that out by playing. And Rhett, I hope you are happy with these changes. Let's see how the gameplay is. Folks, should you need some cards, especially for MagicCon Vegas, please consider checking out my sponsor, toamagic.com. Tales of Adventure is an awesome store. If you order online, you always get free shipping. And if you order online, promo code ThrabenU saves 5% on your order. If you're going to Vegas, you can order ahead of time and pick it up in advance on site. That being said, let's battle. Okay, so I think that exploration and Manabond are so important to this deck that I don't keep hands that look like this, and I mulligan at least a little bit to try to find one of those cards. I think my deck has like 49 lands or something a little ridiculous like that. Yeah, much better. So, Bob is probably just playing a good deck. Probably some blue-black shell. I want to keep this Maze of Ith. I don't think the Mulch is important. And I don't think the Urza Saga is important. I think being able to dump all of my lands into play and be able to, I don't know, could be the Hedge Maze that goes back. That's an ETB tapped land. I don't think I'm trying to win the game yet. I'm going to try throwing back Hedge Maze and keeping this. This gives me the highest upside for what can happen. Arid Mesa. Sure. Am I going to be wastelanded? Am I going to be blood mooned? I don't know. I think I'm going to get basic forest here. We're going to drop a Manabond even if we're not going to intend to use it. Cool. It's a little awkward if my opponent just prismatic endings this card. If I had a Field of the Dead, I would probably just fire this off next turn, or even the turn after, to try to do my combo finish. But given how far I am behind from the double mulligan, I want to mulch into Manabond as my next turn. Hedge Maze came back. Good job, Hedge Maze, I guess. Do this one, it probably doesn't matter for my opponent. And then mulch. Ooh. Yeah. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Control 7 or more lands with different names. Oh, fuck. It's 2 Maze of Iths. This is not the combo finish. I think I'm putting them into play anyway. I think this is enough of an advantage that it is worth it. I'm going to say Living Wish is above average. I don't want my opponent to just play something on the next turn that answers this Manabond, and I lose the opportunity to ever dump all of these lands into play. Like Teferi followed by a counter spell, for example. Hell yeah. Sure. This is probably going to be like some Jeskai Vile-ish deck that is playing a bunch of value ETB creatures. Basically Esper Vile, but with red. Karakas makes wishing for Lumra a little weird. Not necessarily bad, but a little weird. Ophelia can start blinking Ajani for value. Oop. But my opponent can get a lot of cats. Getting Tabernacle against Ajani is kind of weird. Life from the Loam, huh? When did that happen? I have 0 mana of that Life from the Loam going into my graveyard. Alright, I say 0 mana, 0 memory of that happening. Alright, so do this. Trigger Field of the Dead. I'm just going to take my other thing immediately. Like a lush portico here. New Living Wish. The Living Wish is a lot less good with some of the stuff that's going on over there now. Caracas is okay. Tabernacle is okay. Cultivator Colossus initially. Draw a card. No, I need a land in hand already. I'm just going to say no to that. And we will go bam, bam, bam. Get Yorion and pass. Got a fetch, presumably for a surveil land. Yeah. Hey, there's that Teferi I was talking about. Yeah, so that's fine. I am interested in attempting to kill Felia. Bam and bam. I'm going to go ahead and Maze of Ith a cat. My opponent swords one of these. I don't really care. I will swords the other cat as well. All right, no Caracas bounce. Wasteland. Significantly less good against my stuff when I just have Life from the Loam. Hey, don't mind that. So Life from the Loam, target Heath, Saga, Verdant Catacombs. 1 and 2. Play Windswept Heath, trigger Field of the Dead. Fetch, trigger Field of the Dead again. Get some land that I don't have. I guess Basic Plains is fine. You can get some basics over the course of this game. So I will play out this giant critter. Move to end of turn. Now Bob should go ahead and bounce my Yorion in response to this Manabond trigger. Yep, that's fine. I actually do not care about this Yorion. I'm fine discarding it. New Felia? Yes. Goodbye, Yorion. Hello, Urza Saga, Verdant Catacomb. Multiple Field of the Dead zombie triggers. I'm going to take my extra zombie now. And I believe I have one more of these left. Yeah. We can put that into my graveyard. I can get it later if I want. Sure. So at this point, I think I have inevitability here. I'm fine just blocking out while the Ajani is not in play. Elia gets bounced. That's fine. I'll kill a bunch of cats. I'd really just like to find a wasteland and limit my opponent's ability to redeploy cards. That's fine. I can bow sage you that if I feel like that's actually a problem. Sure, cat friend comes back. We'll keep dredging Life from the Loam until it makes sense to not do that anymore. Urza Saga, Boseiju, 1 fetch land, yeah, and yeah. Play new Urza Saga, do this stuff. I think at this point I don't care about the Planeswalker side anymore, right? I'm just the beatdown. I can also do some Maze of Ith shenanigans. I can also just like keep you from getting the Planeswalker. Just deal 4. And that's perfectly fine. I think I'm going to get rid of the Caracas. I think that is proving to be enough of a pain that I don't want to keep dealing with it. Another basic planes, that's fine. Yes. Well, Rhett, I can say that the adapted idea of your deck is certainly doing the thing here. Hello, Felia. File goes up. Okay, opponent is now fully on the defensive. So let's start making some tokens and some more zombies. Now I have every basic. Yeah, we can just keep dredging Life from the Loam. Okay, so the 1-on-3 needs to be activated right now. So we'll search. Immediate pressure sounds good. Lifelink seems irrelevant in this game. Life from the Loam. Target a Saga, a Boseiju, and a fetch land. Okay, yep, no. Just absolutely burying our opponent here. So, against my opponent's pile of small creatures, I probably want this stuff. Tabernacle is sometimes going to be good. I'm fine leaving that in the board to tutor for. I don't need Vexing Bauble. Burrow seems bad versus Caracas. And, oh, I ran the math on this a long time ago. I don't remember what the math was. Oh no, I would need to rerun the math for the Yorion build. So, is Treasure Hunt better or worse than Living Wish? It's less consistent, and I think I want consistency. Oh, this is fine. Oh, I just like totally missed the fact that Bob was playing a Yorion deck. I am recording relatively early in the morning. Oh, alright. Consign to memory. Sure. The Vial makes it a little less likely that I just immediately take over the game by wastelanding my opponent out. But I don't know how well my deck is going to function without Manabond or Exploration. Those two cards are kind of critical to me doing my thing. Never mind. Deck's sweet. I'm going to pass the turn. I'm going to see if my opponent flashes in a Felia. Yes. I'm going to give my opponent some immediate mana. I think the Aether Vial will be worth more than the land over time. The Aether Vial, for example, can just allow my opponent to very easily put in... Maybe the Surveil Land is a reason to do that in upkeep, despite giving my opponent more open mana. We're thinking about more later. Alright, same game as last game. Alright. My opponent gets a Cat Parade. Sure. This time I don't have the Manabond to dig me out, though. Wastelanding my opponent doesn't really make sense right now when I am behind on board. So we're going to Mulch. We're going to start looking for the Maze of Ith type cards. We unfortunately did not hit. I am just taking a shit ton of damage here. Like, I might just die next turn if I don't draw any interaction. Yorion to hand. Yajani is going to get blinked out for the value. I'm taking 7 here. Ugh. I can Living Wish for Caracas, bounce Felia, take 2, 4, 6, 7 damage, and then probably just die the following turn. And Living Wish for Caracas, Living Wish for Tabernacle. I think I just fell behind here. I think Manabond being countered just did me in. Let's run this back. Same plan. We just need to resolve either Exploration or Manabond. Or maybe just being on the play with a Source of Plowshares is enough to make what I'm doing fine. That's savage. Mulligan. This is probably just keepable. I'm going to keep this getting rid of the Yavimaya. My intention is to white Surveil Land on 1 into Wasteland my opponent on 2. Unless they start on Aether Vial or a 1-drop creature, or I guess Wasteland Pass. Arid Mesa Pass. Yeah, so let's fetch. White Surveil Land means Lush Portico. I am going to take that. Source of Plowshares is not my ideal draw right now. I believe that I'm going to play Wasteland and pass here so that Bob can't end of turn Surveil Land for additional selection. Mission accomplished. So Bob can get some basics now to play around my Wasteland that I've shown, but I think I'm ultimately fine with that. And then we've got a second land. That's perfectly fine. I am just going to go ahead and nuke that immediately. Let's not ever worry about that Planeswalker side. So now, am I going down the Life from the Loam route or the Fair Urza's Saga route? That's really tough. I can Urza Saga and Swords to Plowshares next turn, which I think is an argument for just doing that. I'm going to put Yorion into my hand and let the record show that I know that if my opponent plays Harbinger of the Seas, I do lose the game on the spot because I don't have Swords to Plowshares available to immediately remove it, and I don't have basic planes right now. Ooh, we've got a Wasteland on the Lush Portico rather than the Urza Saga in an attempt to cut me off of mana. Unfortunately for you, that's not going to work this game. We are going to play out Tundra here and continue to activate Urza's Saga. We're going to hold Tropical Island so that a follow-up Wasteland does not take me off of my green for Life from the Loam to get back Urza's Saga in the not-too-distant future. Orion revealed. Getting Thundering Falls. Sure. 100% fine with taking 2 here. Then I don't tap out immediately. Or if my opponent plays something like Harbinger of the Seas, which I'm not expecting because Bob got an ETB tapped land after, I believe, missing a land drop. The selection is more important here than anything else. So, yeah. Living Wish. I'm not even sure if making the Construct token is correct here. I think it's not. Yeah, I think it's not. I'm going to get Shadow Spear. I'm going to make a land drop. Wasteland the ETB tapped land. Green mana, Life from the Loam, target Wasteland, Urza's Saga. Windswept Heath. Those clicks didn't go through, apparently. Yeah. Alright, all those resolved. At this point, I'm going to just hold up Swords to Plowshares or something like a Harbinger of the Seas that I actually care about. And I will trade Construct Token with Cat Warrior. At this point, I feel like I have inevitability between Wasteland and Urza Saga and Maze of Ith and all this stuff, and I need to just not die in the short term. And I don't think I care that I could make this Construct Token beat out the Cat Warrior in another turn. I just don't think I care about this Construct Token or my opponent's life total at all. That's a Wastelandable land. That's Yorion to hand. And that's all fine. I don't need to dredge Life from the Loam. I'm going to play Wasteland. Wasteland target Karakas. I don't need to Living Wish for anything here. I'm just going to hold up Swords to Plowshares. That's Wastelandable. That's Bosageable. It probably gives my opponent another basic, which is, like, not ideal. Need to tap that the other way. Yeah. Cycle Lorien revealed. Sure. Finding a basic island. Dunking a volcanic. Fine dredging Life from the Loam. So now, like, do I actually want to hold up Swords to Plowshares for the hypothetical card that beats me? I think continuing to Wasteland my opponent matters enough that I will tap out here to do this. Oh, I was supposed to get a Flooded Strand there. Instead of, yeah, I'm supposed to not get Bosageyu. No, it's fine, I have Windswept Heath in hand. So I can work towards a basic Plains next turn, and then I can answer a Harbinger of the Seas after it resolves. Ooh, Wasteland and Life from the Loam gone. I think that's okay. Ooh, just passing. That's fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I'm going to go ahead and Living Wish or something this turn to use my mana. I wouldn't be surprised to see this countered. Yeah, okay, sure. Or bounce to my hand. That's fine. I think I just Swords to Plowshares this immediately so my opponent can't play Karakas and then repeatedly bounce my shit forever. That sounds obnoxious. I don't care about a Naked Yorion being played out. On 5 mana, I just have Maze of Ith. Okay. So let's get Living Wish countered. Because this is almost certainly 5 mana Force of Will. Yep. And then we'll get Urza Saga going. I oddly only have single green here. There's a Ajani. And pass. Life from the Loam gets back kind of normal stuff right now. I think I am into Winding Way here. Use land. I get an Otawara. That's kind of whatever. I'll just make a land drop and pass. That's fine. I'll take the 2 here. My Urza Saga tokens are about to be quite big. And I can recoup life losses with Shadow Spear. Yeah. I will make a friend. I would love to just draw a removal spell for my turn. That makes things a lot easier for me. Field of the Dead, 1, 2, 3. Not enough lands is the answer. So let's make another thing. Get the Lava Spur Boots. I can Life from the Loam the Urza Saga back, just play the Urza Saga. I think I like Maze of Ith here. And I think I just like Shadow Spear equip. I need to just not die. I think I have inevitability if I don't die. Ooh. Sure, that's fun. Note that I still control the Shadow Spear here, so I can just re-equip that in a second. Ooh, that's not good. That produces the Planeswalker from the Legend rule here. So luckily this pseudo like Cataclysm thing does not actually impact lands. Alright, the cats are big. I can bounce a Planeswalker if I need to. Yeah, I think I might be bouncing a Planeswalker. So let's trade with a cat. Trade with a cat. Maze of Ith Yorion. And just work towards Field of the Dead nonsense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 6. So I will just Otawara the Planeswalker back. Intend on Maze of Ithing Yorion. Take 5. And then hopefully be closer to stabilizing the board. We are both somewhat likely to time out here. Sure. I don't care about any words on this, right? Yeah, I don't think I care about any words on that. I care about that as being a 2/2. Is with that. Alright, I am at 7. I will go land, Field of the Dead to trigger, fetch, Field of the Dead trigger, which I guess I need to just always yield to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 actual mana. I don't have time to do actual combat math here about like re-equipping the Shadow Spear. I want this one here. I don't have time to think about that decision though. I was thinking about like Yorion picking up Shadow Spear, but in actuality, I'm probably just Bays of Ithing that anyway. The ward here matters, I guess. Well, at this stage of the game, I really do need to not take damage, unfortunately. But yeah, I do think you are going to get the Planeswalker here. Alright. You get your cat Planeswalker. Life from the Loam. Otawara Bant Yorion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is worth 2 zombies. Let's assume that that is worth playing. Let's Shadow Spear, equip to Yorion, go to combat, send that at the Planeswalker. Planeswalker dies. Life from the Loam, Urza Saga, Otawara, some fetch land. Yeah. Winding way to use mana. Pick up some bonus lands. Alright. Feels like I probably win from here. We'll see though. Barry is fine. I don't really have time to be fucking around with Life from the Loam anyway. Alright, fantastic. Cast Living Wish. Yes. Get Lumra. Need untapped green. Let's do that. Fetch. Untapped green. Trigger Field of the Dead a couple times. 6. Do this. Yeah. Triggers. Assuming Magic Online does not crash here. I will very, 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 very easily win the game. Anyway, we love Lumra here on this channel. That was a fantastic, absolutely fantastic game. Well played on both sides. Great showcase for what this deck was capable of doing as well. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and I could say all sorts of great things about them, but I'm just going to point to this number. I have 488 deck lists stored on this site. That should give you a feel for how I feel about this website. And if you were to go to my profile, you could see all the deck lists that I'm messing around with, including my EDH decks, and you can even see some of the deck lists I record with before they hit the channel. Ooh. Okay, so is this a keepable hand? Does it have a good mix of lands and spells? Yes. Does it have a plan for winning the game? That is probably mulch into fuel for Uro, play Uro. I think this is barely a keep. And again, I think our exploration and Manabonds are incredibly important to our success here. I think I'm going to start this game on 2 basics. So we're just going to play out our booties. Do I have a green or blue land that I can wish for? No. I'd Living Wish for Caracas Uro. Sure. Okay. So the Mox Opal pushes me ever so slightly towards the fact that this might be a combo deck that is using Vexing Bauble for protection. I have Collector Oof, right? I do. I am a genius deck builder who put a Collector Oof in the deck at the last minute. So we're going to go ahead and grab Collector Oof. Genius deck builder confirmed, he says as he shuts off his own artifacts. We've got a long pause here after Urza Saga ticks up. There's no Metalcraft yet for Mox Opal. Okay, there's an Ancient Tomb. That does produce Metalcraft. Okay. Let's all relax here. Let's not do anything crazy with 4 or 5 mana. What are you tutoring up? Argentum Masticore. I see. So that's my opponent's plan. Answer my Collector Oof. But how are you going to put that in play if I shut off these mana sources? Like, do you just have another Soul Land, or are you hoping to get lucky? Let's hope that they are trying to get lucky. I'm going to play into that. The Grim Monolith pushes me towards thinking my opponent might be doing the Mystic Forge type stuff. The like Voltaic Key, Manifold Key, untap Grim Monoliths, play the One Ring Mystic Forge, that sort of nonsense. Soul Guide Lantern. That's fine. That like technically has an effect on gameplay despite being an artifact. Ooh, Inventor's Fair is cool. This is one many of you might not have seen. This saw some play in the Tezzerator era of Legacy. It is a very slow tutor and a very slow source of life gain. But Karn plus on nothing? Sure. I think I would like to mulch and find a wasteland. And I'm going to mulch specifically rather than Uro. Hell yeah. That was a draw 3 that put a Life from the Loam into my graveyard. Fuck yeah. Wasteland Ancient Tomb. Pass. So my opponent gains some life. I don't know if I'm currently favored to win this game through the Karn. My opponent can like Karn minus attack with a 6/6 construct, sacrifice their Karn to my Collector Oof attack, and maybe just aggro me out. Another Soul Guide Lantern to take out Life from the Loam. You got it. Yep. 7/7 construct even. Okay. Now what? I think Uro is fine. Getting an Uro in play is a way that I might end up taking this Karn out of play. Do I want to cast Winding Way this turn? Sure. I'm going to say that Winding Way is probably better than other options. Let's put another land into graveyard here. Need an untapped green. Let's go Savannah for something with a different name for Field of the Dead. Field of the Dead is something that I would love to work for. Let's choose land. Hey! It's Field of the Dead. How convenient. So my opponent gains a life for their Inventor's Fair. Soul Guide Lantern is a friend. The construct is going to swing in, putting me on a 3-turn clock, and then this can chump block against the Karn. Sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go land drop, bring Uro back, blue, blue, green, green. Okay, my opponent is conceding to the Uro. That's perfectly reasonable. I revealed multiple Field of the Deads. I am just going to bury them and have plenty of chump blockers so that I don't care about this anymore. All right, sideboard Collector Oof for Living Wish, confirmed good. I am probably not sideboarding this stuff for my opponent's Urza Saga Construct tokens. I am probably trying to deal with those via Maze of Ith, conceptually anyway. I might play a couple. Like, I probably don't do Vexing Bauble here. My opponent is playing Vexing Bauble themselves. Actually, Path is probably better than Swords. So, do I want more copies of Path or Urza Saga Construct tokens? They can get big. I am primarily trying to wasteland those, Collector Oof all the artifacts, so it doesn't matter. Tabernacle them in a pinch, I guess. I think I am going to go down another artifact here. This leaves me with exactly one thing to find off Urza's Saga. But between my Collector Oof and their Karn, I think my artifacts are going to be off most of the time. This is not enough mana for my liking. This is fine. I probably get rid of the high variance treasure hunt here. Alright, let's see how gross my opponent's turn 1 can be. They can sometimes get 4 mana on turn 1 with Grim Monolith into a key. That did not happen here. Hello, Lavas Perpoots. Thank you for joining us. I don't even think I'm playing that. I think it is probably just better to use my turn for a Surveil land. So 3, 6 mana available. Resolves? Yep. So my Boseiju destroys things, which isn't going to work on this indestructible One Ring. I think I have a white Surveil land of some kind. Lush Portico. I'll do that here. Uro. That can go into graveyard. I don't need to draw that directly. I can just play that from graveyard at some point. So, I could Boseiju a Grim Monolith. I could specifically a Grim Monolith in response to something like a Voltaic Key activation targeting it. I could go after an Ancient Tomb and hope they don't have more lands, and that I just kind of stick them on resources. Or I can treasure hunt and try to find something more broken, which I think is what I am going to go for. Get a Trop and go treasure hunt. So this will give me some number of cards. Everything after Lava Spur Boots. A Manabond. That was an expensive cantrip. I am not complaining though. Like, trying to hit a Manabond or a Exploration was literally why I was casting Treasure Hunt. So hopefully my opponent doesn't pop off too hard and I just go Winding Way, put a bunch of lands in hand, and then absolutely pop the fuck off for my own turn. But opponent's got 7 cards here, so we should expect some bad things. Probably Dame's Wasteland, yep. I can both Seiju that Pithing Needle in theory. New Uro. I believe that I'm going to try to advance my own game plan here. So let's Winding Way, try to look at a bunch of lands, get 1. Not what I'm looking for. Ugh, that's very awkward. I'm going to play Manabond. It is not currently worth it for me to discard my entire hand to get 2 extra land drops. We're going to say no to that for right now. The Treasure Hunt, followed by the Winding Way, both kind of whiffing, was rough. We are looking to get more than 1 card worth of value out of those on average. Ooh. These Urza's Workshops are both tapping for 3. Uh-oh. The win condition arrived. So this represents a very large amount of damage very quickly. Like, my opponent has 7, 8 mana right now, plus however much. Oh god, am I just going to eat Kozilek's Command immediately? I think I die next turn if that's Kozilek's Command. So there's 5 more damage to face. And I assume this turn is not over. That untaps the 1 ring. I don't think I realistically win from here. Oh gosh. Okay, now every spell is 2 Glaring Flushraker triggers. Yeah, okay. No, that's fine. We can stop there. So for game 3, do I want more Swords to Plowshares? I think 3 of that sort of effect is enough. I think I got hit with 3 bad points of variance. I drew my single artifact that I did not want to draw. My Treasure Hunt was as bad as possible, and my Mulch, or Winding Way, whichever one I cast, was almost as bad as possible. I don't know that this hand is strong enough. I think Exploration and Manabond are very important. I'm going to fish a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, this is fine. So do I care about Living Wish, Collector Oof? And am I doing Exploration or Manabond? I think I'm doing Exploration, in which case I can put back Manabond. So my game plan is Boseiju, Exploration, Surveil Land, cast Mulch, play 2 lands, Living Wish, Collector Oof. Ooh, my opponent is going to 4. That is a scary place to be. So we are starting this game off strong. Wasteland is a thing that I would potentially like to find as well. Wasteland Life from the Loam, confirmed powerful. I don't need white right now. I think I'm just going to add blue mana to my repertoire. I think I take this. Tropical Island is not a particularly good draw, but it makes it much more likely that I get to Mulch into another 2-drop play. And I think I want to dig 4 deep here. Oh yeah. I actually just want to play Living Wish and Collector Oof in the same turn cycle, so I don't telegraph that. I'm going to play Field of the Dead tapped here, and then some other land. Then I don't telegraph that Collector Oof is coming. Yeah, we'll find a Wasteland eventually for that. Yeah, that's fine. That is honestly fine, because we have Collector Oof coming, and my opponent just spent 3 cards to draw 1 card and deal themselves 1 point of damage per turn for the rest of the game. Like, this is fully fine. I am not interested in Urza's Saga stuff yet. So, land drop, Living Wish, yes, Collector Oof, cast Collector Oof, Life from the Loam. This is just getting Misty, but the Misty is actually a really big deal because Misty represents white mana for Path to Exile if my opponent can actually make Urza Saga tokens. Then I think dredging a Life from the Loam is probably game over for my opponent unless they find something like a Dismember. Ooh. Donde Está Wasteland. 5 mana. Kozilek's Command will do it. Sure. That means my opponent's One Ring is back on. I am hoping to just bury them in Field of the Dead zombie tokens still. Dredging is perfectly fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. This is 7. Make a zombie. Life from the Loam targets 1 and 2. Yeah. And yeah. Play Field of the Dead. Make 2 friends. Yeah. Put Yorion to hand. Pass turn with 2-ish more zombies coming. I have a Path to Exile that I can point at one of my own zombie tokens or 2 Field of the Dead triggers. See what my opponent wants to do with this mess of stuff. Loading mana rather than making constructs. Sure. I'm going to let this priority pass happen. If my opponent wants to Pithing Needle my Misty Rainforest, it still taps for mana due to Yavimaya. Manifold Key. That is perfectly reasonable. So much mana. And so much card draw. I think this is the fundamental turn. I think this is the turn where one of us takes over the game. I will respond to that. So fetch. I'm going to get something like a Savannah for untapped white. I guess let's get a Tundra. Make my zombie friends. And Path to Exile that Glaring Fleshraker. Alright, there is no basic wastes in the deck, so earlier in the match I could have gotten away with both Sagewing and Ancient Tomb. Now we just see how nutty the rest of the turn gets. There is some real danger that my opponent will kill themselves with the One Ring. They have a lot of cards, which probably translates to a lot of mana. But I have 10 onboard damage. They are taking 5 onboard damage from their One Ring. They have to kill me next turn, or otherwise play a new One Ring. This should be very possible. This is all the mana. It is a new One Ring. So that will buy my opponent time. I think they are going to need to kill me on their next turn again, though. Oh shit, they kept the one with 6 counters. Alright, so they are very much going to try to kill me on their next turn. Do I want to dredge Life from the Loam? What does Living Wish get me if I draw one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, potentially 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Cultivator Colossus +1 redraw is a possibility. I think Life from the Loam is multiple looks at Wasteland, which seems relevant. Burrow, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay. So green, green, blue, blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Leave the land in there. Burrow gives me a draw. Start with Flooded Strand here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I can go ahead and fetch with this as long as it is an untapped land of some kind. I don't have a Savannah yet. More zombie friends. More zombie friends. You guessed it. More zombie friends. Urza Saga gets mana. Life from the Loam with 2 targets. Just in case for later. Cast Yorion. I don't think I am going to blink my Uro to draw 1 more card. I think the Uro body is more valuable in play in case combat math gets weird for some reason. So, my opponent has some work to do. They need to kill me. I don't think they're going to be able to easily empty their hand for something like Ensnaring Bridge. So I think they have to physically kill me. They can draw a shit ton of cards. I didn't find a Wasteland to kind of take out some of those Urza's workshops, unfortunately. An early Glaring Fleshraker is what my opponent needs. And I'm going to give you relevant updates this turn, as I imagine there is going to be a large amount of untapping various lands, or various artifacts with Manifold Key. That is a Kozilek's Command, or what I assume is lethal. Yeah, that is X equals 8. So that is going to be 16 Glaring Fleshraker triggers, unfortunately. Hell of a fucking board state to end things on, though. I just want to see them all go on the stack, I'm not going to lie to you. Oh, shit, that put me to 2. I'm not technically dead. That'll do, though. GG's. Great match. Very, very, very close. Okay. This hand does not have one of our green 1-drops that we really want. This hand feels very whatever. I'm going to mulligan. I think the exploration hands are just so much better than the ones that do not have exploration. This hand probably doesn't need Living Wish immediately. We can find something like that a little bit later on. Oh, my opponent says some nice things. Hello, David. Good luck to you. I think fine getting blue mana here. Let's get a Trop, throw an Exploration out there, and probably get the tapped Field of the Dead out of the way on turn 1. I don't think conceptually I want to turn 1 Urza's Saga and commit my mana to that immediately, because Urza's Saga takes up 3 of my lands, the Urza Saga itself, and 2 of my other mana, and I would still like to cast Winding Way next turn. This is a pretty island. A little frog wizard! Even better than I thought. A+. No notes. I think we play 1 land prior to Winding Way so that we play around a daze. I get 1 land out of this. I don't know how fair or unfair my opponent's deck is yet. I think I'm just going to grab a Surveil land here and wait on Urza Saga. Urza Saga works against the Field of the Dead plan a little bit, like there is a little bit of deck building tension there. So I think I am going to wait on Urza Saga. This is already 4. Next turn I will have 6 of my lands. I'm okay playing Urza Saga next turn, but I want to have this Misty Rainforest available. You know, if I am playing against combo versus control versus a Psychic Frog that just comes down into play, like, those require different resources. So now I know that Maze of Ith is something that I would really, really, really like to find here. So let's fetch. Edge Maze is fine. And let's see what we find. Tropical Island. I already have that name, so I'm not interested in that land. Oseiju I am not interested in. We're going to play this as a regular old land. We're going to go ahead and play Urza's Saga. And then we're going to put this Yorion into our hand, not with the expectation that we're probably going to use it in the next few turns, but it's just going to be there, chilling, hanging out, ready for us when we need it. It is technically a blocker for the Psychic Frog. The Psychic Frog probably wins combat versus the Yorion. I am not sure that I like playing Scalding Tarn prior to Brainstorm there. My opponent's deck presumably has Wasteland in it, and I have 2, I think, very critical Wasteland targets right now. But I don't know how bad that hand was. That hand could have been, you know, like, I gotta get shit out of here no matter what. And a Tamiyo. You've got it. Opponent has great sources of card advantage. And we'll see how that stacks up against Zombie.plan. I think I'm relatively happy with most of the things that I can draw here, honestly. There's... Oh! Fuck, are you playing Doomsday over there? Wait. Oh shit, that was not my opponent's 3rd... Yeah, so my opponent played a Tamiyo after their 3rd card was drawn because they did multiple other cantrips. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... 7. Let's always yield to this Field of the Dead. This is 8. I think I just go ahead and fetch now. Savannah. Trop. Let's just get like a forest. Keep the names different. Cast my Yorion. Nice. Pass turn. And I have Urza Saga Construct token available as well here. I have a game 1 Shadow Spear that I can put on Yorion as well, if I just want to out lifelink the damage that the frog is capable of. And it's turn 4 and I have Field of the Dead going and 3 zombies already. This deck is delicious. Ooh, I was correct. I hate being right though, because I might die this turn. So we can now take a look at our opponent's deck. This is about what I was expecting here. So 1 Tamiyo, 2 Tamiyos, 1 frog, 2 frog, 3 frogs, maybe more, depending on what is in hand over there. All right, no attacks. Okay, there is the 4th frog. So We Saga. And we try to figure out how the fuck I'm beating Doomsday. I don't know. I can make another friend. The Vexing Bauble redraw get me anywhere spicy? It might. Let's make my opponent do some combat math, shall we? Send him. Because I am expecting that I die on my turn. Alright, I am only getting 4 damage through. I don't even know if my opponent's going to save any of the frogs. Okay, no, there is the 4th ThrabenU. Alright. Opponent is at 5. I am going to draw a new card here. Probably doesn't do anything. We'll play it anyway. I could find like a wasteland. Oops, all Yavamayas. Keep this one. That is going to allow me to make 2 zombies. Don't have enough to escape here. So we'll make more zombies and see if we did enough damage to our opponent where they are dead. Unfortunately, the math was not such so that Lava Spur Boots on the other construct token made it so that I was going to have lethal. It was pretty close to it, but it wasn't quite there. There's the Thassa's Oracle with 2 cards left and 3 Devotion to Blue. Just barely short. So Doomsday is kind of notoriously difficult to interact with. If we had Consigned to Memory in the sideboard to counter a triggered ability, that would be cool, but we don't. So let's assume that Lava Spur Boots is bad. Let's assume that I probably want these for the fair aspects of my opponent's deck. I think I want literally all of them. Probably means shaving Treasure Hunt. Oh, sorry. This one, not this one. Lava Spur Boots are really important for closing life totals after a Doomsday or a past the turn line. I don't know where the last couple of cuts come from. It might just be Uros. With a Yorion companion, I have to worry a little bit less about actual win conditions. It's fine. It answers 1 opposing creature. If I play Urza Saga, it kind of locks me out of doing these things, but Urza Saga might be enough pressure that it can singularly win me a game. I'm gonna mulligan. Hello. Keep pitching Swords to Plowshares. And turn 2 is probably a very, very big turn. I kind of need this Manabond to resolve. Nice. Is turn 1 my big turn? Do I just say fuck it? Put in both of these, discard Life from the Loam, dredge Life from the Loam, instead of trying to mulch? No, I would like to mulch. I would like to dig deeper and potentially do Field of the Dead nonsense on a high roll. See what my opponent's got. Goodbye, Mulch. Hello, Mulch. Let's fetch. I can get a Tundra here. Have all my colors. Cast Mulch. Ooh, 1, 2, and 3. This is unfortunately 6 lands. Next turn, I cast Life from the Loam, put Misty Rainforest into my hand, then have 7 lands. Yeah, I just wait here. That just produces so much power all at the same time. I am happy with how this is going. All right, there's a fetch for the Ponder. Something like a Tameo would be good here. David might need to win next turn. Ooh, that is not the immediate Doomsday. Oh ho ho. Life from the Loam, target Misty. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Trigger. Oh yeah. Good shit. This is lethal. Blood is Strand can go to graveyard. I'm probably fetching anyway. Alright. Any win attempt needs some sort of fast mana like Dark Ritual to make it happen here. I guess an Echoing Truths could do it. I have a Life from the Loam down there. I can just grab another land very easily here. Manabond can go directly to graveyard. I'm fine dredging Life from the Loam. Going to combat. Sending in. Very dead. Now we have to do this again on the draw, where it's a little harder. This is an awkward hand. It is fine against the Tameo Psychic Frog style nonsense, and it has a Manabond. The lands that I have aren't the best, like Maze of Ith is probably not what I want when I already have Path plus Swords. And if I use the Manabond, I discard Swords and Path. Second main phase Hipster into Ponder. I don't want to draw another Savannah here. I think I just Lush Portico for my turn. No. No, thank you. While I in theory want the Manabond in play as quickly as possible, it doesn't do me a lot of good in the immediate future. Sure. Get something with blue mana and a different name. And additional green mana. Yeah, let's put a drop into play. And do a draw 2. We can probably discard Path or Swords here pretty easily. We are likely mana bonding away most of our hand next turn. And Maze of Ith covers Frog. Tameo's still Tameo, like Tameo can still be annoying. And I get to Life from the Loam for a few looks at Wasteland or Maze of Ith. Or not Maze of Ith, Field of the Dead. Alright, there's a fetch from our opponent. Presumably for a Surveil land. Junking a Frog. Yeah, so they are on the combo plan. See if it's just third land Natural Doomsday. It is. Alright, so I immediately don't see the Street Wraith and Edge of Autumn type stuff, so my opponent is probably going the cycling route. I will still dredge Life from the Loam. Life from the Loam whiffs. I believe my highest percentage chance to win the game is hold up Swords to Plowshares and hope that my opponent goes for a sloppy Thassa's Oracle line that leaves the ability to lose if Thassa's Oracle is removed from play. They shouldn't do that after seeing white removal, and I am not putting any pressure on here, but you never know. Alright, yeah. So, Street Wraith? Yeah. 2 cards remaining. 3 mana available. That. Okay, Street Wraith again. If this last card is a fetchable land, then removing the Thassa's Oracle does not stop anything here. But why don't we remove the Thassa's Oracle out of pure spite anyway? Give my opponent a little more life to work with, you know? GG's, very close. Alright, I like this opening hand here. I think we lead on Vexing Bauble rather than Manabond. That makes it more likely that the Manabond actually resolves. That's not like always true because, you know, Swamp, discard, take Manabond is a thing that could happen. But this also hedges against some combo decks as well. Sure. And a Ponder. So we're going to assume some blue-black psychic frog nonsense until my opponent gives us a reason to believe that they are not doing that. Let's get tapped Field of the Dead out of the way and play a Manabond. I think I am ultimately going to end up playing this game fairly, rather than trying to do a Field of the Dead combo turn. Like, I think next turn I am going to play Uro, and then Manabond my various lands into play. Maybe putting a Yorion Companion into my hand at the same time. We'll see, though. Sure. So Tropical Island into Uro. Put an extra land into play. Play Exploration. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I think I play Surveil land here. I think I'm okay not mana bonding this land in. With both Exploration and Mana Bond, I don't think I have to worry about land drops. Haha, fool. Done damage to yourself. Roll cycling. And I will take some amount of damage here. We'll see how much. Sure. Alright, there's a Daze that we invalidated with Vexing Bauble. There's another Troll. Sure. You may have your card. I'm not really scared of the Psychic Frog stuff right now. I am much more scared of, you know, Giant Atraxa coming in, giving my opponent a whole bunch of resources to work with. Ooh, I'm thinking about whether, like, what land I want to show my opponent. I think I want to Lush Portico, because there's not another card with that name in the deck. I do not want that card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but not appropriate names. I think I just get rid of my Vexing Bauble. I think I straight up just draw a card here. Nice. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can do these all at end step with Manabond, so Field of the Dead sees all of them. Alright. Get in there. Yeah, no, this is what I was afraid of. There's the Atraxa that I was talking about. The Atraxa makes it harder for me to kill my opponent with just go wide zombie nonsense. My deck is doing a pretty darn good job of getting Field of the Dead going quickly, though. I will say that. I'll take 3-ish damage here. Make it 4. Make it 5. Alright, yeah, no, we are in on the Psychic Rug. Do I get to dodge the reanimation nonsense? No, I do not. Ooh, my opponent is on Metamorphosis Fanatic. So they can take Force of Will, Ponder if they want to stop me from top decking something cool. Yeah, Force of Will, Ponder, Wasteland, Metamorphosis Fanatic. Okay, so I will Urza Saga. I'll put a Yorion to hand. I will cast it. It gains me 7 life. My opponent may just Force of Will it to just, like, fucking hit me in the face. Right? You Force of Will this, pitching Ponder, you have Psychic Frog Flying, and I believe I just get lethaled. Yeah, we'll use Manabond's ability. Yeah, with 3 cards in hand, I am deterministically dead to board as long as they see it. There's the flying. They come in, and now my opponent is going to pitch cards to Psychic Frog. Unfortunate. Yeah, if I dodge Atraxa, there's a decent chance that I end up winning that game. Oh my god, Living Wish was the next card. Ah, Living Wish Lumra. Damn it. Okay, well, activate Project Sideboard Plan. Let's bring in 7 cards here. Take the high variance Treasure Hunts out. I think take Lava Spur Boots out. I expect the games to go slower, get rid of 2 Manabonds. Like, the Manabonds are worse once I board in a whole bunch of things that I want to have access to. I probably still keep some Manabonds because it can be a massive jump in mana. I think 2 Manabonds is better than 2 Treasure Hunts, for example. Well, this is a hand. I don't think I get to keep that. This is probably fine. It's not fine if my Boseiju gets wastelanded. So hopefully that doesn't happen. I think it's really hard to take a called shot on a Boseiju on turn 1. And it didn't happen. Now, you know, my opponent can still counter Winding Way and Mulch. I am okay playing around Daze. So there's land drop 1. Doesn't matter what color I leave open. Nice. Ooh, Life from the Loam to Graveyard 2? Delicious. In that case, let's go fetch land, basic plains, Winding Way, use land. Oh shit. Oh wow, we have resources, folks. This feels strong. We have single target removal. We have single land removal. We have selection. We have recursion with Life from the Loam. I have extra land drops. We want to find an eventual, like, not wasteland, win condition, like a Field of the Dead or an Urza Saga. Alright, there's more things with different names in Graveyard there. Let's Life from the Loam, target 3 things. And yeah. My opponent's probably getting a basic anyway. Let's play this out, then I have Path around a Spell Pierce. And then let's get some selection going. You can go to the graveyard. I'll get you back with Life from the Loam when I want you. I am probably not even dredging Life from the Loam next turn. And I want to hold up Path to Exile. I don't need to put Yorion into hand right now. There's a troll. We are not scared of the troll, though. You may surveil. Like, the troll is answered by Path to Exile or Maze of Ith very easily. Animate Dead on a Psychic Frog. You've got it. Opponent may be using this to put more cards into graveyard. So let's try to remove this. Ooh, no. Not like an immediate Atraxa into graveyard. Not another land here. Alright, 1, 2, 3. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Next land that I play is my 7th land. I can do 7 and 8 this turn. I think I Life from the Loam. So let's wasteland the sewers, wasteland Urza's Saga, and I will take the Surveil land back. Doesn't matter very much. We can probably start trying to win. I will put... Actually, I'm not casting that. I'm probably not casting that. Let's do a Surveil land. Living Wish. I would like to draw that. Yeah, you can just hang out in my sideboard. Metamorphosis Fanatic. You've got it. I can give my opponent a troll with a lifelink counter on it. This is not that bad. New land drop. Pass turn. Do not dredge. Pick this up. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1. Let's start by seeing if this resolves. Negative. Then land drop number 1 will be a wasteland for that underground sea. Sure. Land drop number 2 will be a Maze of Ith. So now I don't care about the troll, and I don't expect that I lose to a 4/4 lifelinker, given all of the various tools at my disposal. Let's maze that. I could just fog. I think I'll take 4 though. Wasteland, sure. So I will make my chump blocker. My opponent wastelanding me does not have great long-term prospects. There's Field of the Dead. Field of the Dead, Urza Saga, Wasteland. Didn't target something there. Field of the Dead, Wasteland, Urza Saga. Yeah, and yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. Once Field of the Dead gets going, like this 4/4 just doesn't matter anymore. It's a shame my opponent had a counter for Living Wish. Could have cast Lumra. Lumra! I'm thinking about whether or not I would actually Living Wish for a Bojuka Bog. And sometimes I would. I'm not gonna board that into the main deck. I think I want to have access to Bojuka Bog and Caracas as turn 2 or turn 3 plays. This does not have functional mana, unfortunately. This is an auto mulligan. This is fine. I don't have white mana yet for the Path to Exile. I am going to get rid of the Path. This gives me turn 1 Vexing Bauble Forest. Never mind, turn 1 Wasteland. Snap turn 1 Wasteland against that opening. Yeah. And yeah. We will restart the game. But I have drawn an extra card. Ponder is fine. That is a wastelandable land, and I am going to have an uncounterable Life from the Loam, assuming that Vexing Bauble resolves. This is great. Would not mind drawing Exploration. Beggars can be choosers. Sure. Edge Maze is not really what I'm looking for. It's another land. Alright. Bauble in play. So my opponent would like to Entomb Reanimate or play Psychic Frog this turn. Okay, they did one of those things. I'm going to play Otawara as land. Not sure which one of these to cast. It's not Living Wish. I think it's actually Winding Way. Winding Way immediately looks 4 deep. Nice. Yeah, and Winding Way does not lock me into dredging Life from the Loam next turn, so I get another look at an Exploration or Manabond, either of which would be just batshit insane right now. Only taking 1. Also, just drawing a Path to Exile or Swords of Plowshares is really good right now. Alright. What am I afraid of? That's what I'm afraid of. Archon of Cruelty is good against Maze of Ith. Okay, let's draw Path to Exile. Can't Living Wish Caracas to stop Archon of Cruelty. We were better off against Atraxa than Archon. Oddly enough. Get rid of Yavimaya. That doesn't seem super necessary here. Yeah. Alright, check the Living Wish board. Is there anything I am missing? No. No, there is not. So let's Surveil. Don't need that. If I win, it's because I rip white removal for this. I am going to continue my game plan in other ways here. I am going to pick up a win condition for a little bit later in the game, or if we reach the point where I have answered Archon of Cruelty. The Life from the Loam can answer Frog eventually with something like a Maze of Ith, or just going wide of it with Field of the Dead. But I'm not beating this Archon. It also just clocks me relatively quickly. My opponent can also choose to... Oh fuck, am I dead immediately? 8 plus 5 is 13. Fuck you, Psychic Frog, you piece of shit. Oh, my opponent missed lethal. I like it when that happens. Unfortunately, I'm just still dead to Psychic Rogue next turn. Land drop. You want an Atraxa too? Ah. Alright. Alright. Fine. GG's. Okay. Opening hand can look at a lot of cards. Opening hand is vulnerable to a wasteland. Opening hand is slow. Opening hand does not have exploration or Manabond. I'll mulligan. This one at least has a starting wasteland and a little bit of redundancy. I'm not 100% happy, but I think I'll keep the 6 that looks like this. All right. We win. So our opponent is playing a combo deck that is going to need 5 or 6 mana in order to cast Creative Technique. And their deck is full of 6-drops that will cascade into that. So my Life from the Loam Life from the Loam Wasteland probably just outpaces what they are doing. I would like to play a fetch land this turn so that I can get more things back with Life from the Loam. Yep. We'll go Hedge Maze here. Ooh. Boseiju on Crystal Vein is actually a pretty good turn. Let's put that on top. So we'll just Tundra, pass, Boseiju, Crystal Vein in our opponent's upkeep. Actually, I guess in their draw step. Give them a chance to draw any typed lands that they have. Because Boseiju lets you look for lands with a basic land type. So it can be a dual land, which I am expecting my opponent to actually have. Ooh. So it's Violent Outburst for Tybalt's Trickery, which hits Throes of Chaos, which cascades into Violent Outburst. My opponent is a faster version of the deck than what is normal. Into Tybalt's Trickery or Trumpeting Carnosaur, so my opponent's going to discover 5. That gets them into Creative Technique. Yeah, I will cast a Winding Way. I get a few lands. Sure. And this is going to continue for a little while. I'm just going to give you the update at the end. I assume I am dead. My opponent hit an Emrakul and has a Maelstrom Wanderer to give everything haste. I am fine conceding there. Unfortunate. So the Tybalt's Trickery has a failure chance, so a lot of times these decks will sideboard into Creative Technique. Or not Creative Technique, the 4-mana Cascade card. Throes of Chaos. And that's a way to speed up after people know what's going on. And our opponent had it in game 1, unfortunately. Let's just naturally draw Vexing Bauble, huh? That sounds cool. My way to win is just keep my opponent from ever casting spells, which is tough if they only need 3 mana. My spot removal doesn't really matter. Like, my opponent has creatures in their deck, but it's almost never just going to be one creature here. So unfortunately, I think I am just hitting the submit button. I mean, I have Wasteland Life from the Loam. That is about the best that I can hope for. I really would like an Exploration or Manabond. And I'm going to filter away most cards that aren't that. Get rid of that draw step stop. All right. Wasteland, target your land. Pass turn. Sure. So we get 2 cards back with Life from the Loam here. And pass turn. Oh, rough. Our opponent has the Violent Outburst. Gets them into Tybalt's Trickery, which gets Creative Technique. Sure, I'll cast a Life from the Loam. Ooh, Leyline of the Void is not what my opponent wants to hit there. Oh my god! Double Leyline of the Void! Okay. Well, we're in business. So I'm going to attempt to knock you off mana still. That for sure is happening. I'm trying to figure out how I'm winning this game from here. I think I'm going to use this mana to just get a creature that I can play next turn, which I think is Collector Oof. I think I just start poking my opponent with Collector Oof next turn while wastelanding the lands that they make. And then I try to use Mulch and Winding Way to eventually find more damage somewhere. Or sorry, more disruption somewhere. So there's a body. And then next turn I play Mulch looking for another wasteland. If I find it, cool. If I don't, I'll play an Urza Saga. Ooh. So get additional land drop. Use first land drop to cast a Mulch, get 1 land, use second land drop to drop an Urza's Saga, attack for 2, and we can start working towards Vexing Bauble here. Oh, you're just going again? That is unfortunate. Debolt's Trickery, hitting Creative Technique. Yes, I will cast a Treasure Hunt. Alright. This is a multi-cascade spell here that is also going to kill my random collector. Oof. Such a sweet boy. Yeah, I'll cast a Life from the Loam. No legal targets. Just taking that out of my deck. Apex Devastator happens, which almost certainly kills me. I'm going to give you an update when the stack clears. I might not die. Wow. I was getting excited because there was only 17 damage showing with most of the stack clear. What a fool I was. Alright, last one. Nope. We're still on for the ride. Yeah, I get another turn. Do either one of these have trample? Either one of those have trample? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6? Urza's Saga. Urza's Saga can block one of these. I need to answer the other. I can do so with Winding Way. Finding a Maze of Ith. Land. Fuck. Manabond off Treasure Hunt. Goated draw. Damn it. Yeah, we were playing to outs there because Manabond makes basically infinite zombies there. But now that's my second land drop, right? Yeah. Now I can't do anything fun. Like I can cast the Winding Way, but then not get the other thing into play. That was surprisingly close for how much of a slaughter that it looked like. So that was a 1-4 league. But honestly, this wasn't that bad, especially given how many changes we made from the initial build. Most of my losses were very close. I feel like I played 5 highly intricate competitive games of Legacy. I'm gonna give it the thumbs up despite the scoreboard looking pretty poor here. There's certainly room for some optimization still. But let's go back to the original for a minute. So the original that was submitted had Dark Depths, Thespian Stage, and I think I feel pretty confident in saying that Field of the Dead overperformed in this league. Like, I was very happy with Field of the Dead's performance. It ground us out of some incredibly tricky spots. I think the original deck list trying to assemble Dark Depths plus Thespian Stage without a full tutor suite to do so, I think it would have been worse off. And we already kind of looked at how Mystic Sanctuary was unlikely to actually be online, coming in untapped, and getting you all of these cards back. So I think I'm ultimately pretty happy with this. Now, this is a deck that wants to play against other slower decks. I think if you are paired against combo all day, you are probably going to have a bad time. But we had lines versus the combo decks that we were playing against that I didn't really expect. So it's not like it was just a total slaughter with no fighting back. The Living Wish for Collector Oof in particular is really good. And Collector Oof was not something that was in the original sideboard. The original sideboard was trying to do this pivot plan. And I think the pivot plan that we did have a pile of removal that we can bring in to really bury the fair decks, I think that is a decent way to be hedging in this metagame. So that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed playing this league. I hope you all enjoyed watching. If you need some cards for it, you know where to go. Promo code ThrabenU to let them know that I sent you. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. See ya.